The story begins with the frantic, high-pitched hum of spacecraft engines, the blinding lights of neon signs, and the harsh sounds of alien voices echoing through the enormous, sprawling spaceport. Lyra, a young human girl, is running as fast as her legs will carry her, weaving through the crowd of strange, towering figures. Her breath comes in ragged gasps, and her heart pounds in her chest, threatening to burst out. She doesn't dare stop. Not even for a second. Not when the Council's enforcers are hot on her heels. Above her, large ships slowly land, their engines whirring down as giant metal legs extend from the underside. The crowds part as more beings, humans and aliens alike, rush about, heading to their destinations. Some glance at Lyra as she runs, their faces emotionless. Others, too busy to notice, are lost in their own business. But to her, the faces are all the same, eyes that turn away, unwilling to help or care. Lyra stumbles for a second, her foot catching on a cracked tile. But she doesn't pause to check. She's learned long ago that time doesn't wait. The enforcers are getting closer. She can hear their footsteps, heavy and determined, their boots echoing through the spaceport. There are 4 of them, all in sleek black armor, the insignia of the Galactic Council glowing faintly on their chests. Her eyes dart across the spaceport, searching for an escape. The crowd is thinning now, and there's nowhere to hide. Her only chance is to reach the docking bay where a ship she hopes can still get her off this place, awaits. She takes a sharp turn and sees the entrance to the bay. But she's not alone. There, hidden in the shadows of the bay, is the shape of a large spacecraft. Old, rusty, but still unmistakably powerful. Her heart skips a beat. Without thinking, Lyra runs toward the ship, her legs burning, every muscle in her body screaming for rest. As she reaches the ramp of the ship, she hears the sound of heavy boots just a few feet away. The enforcers have spotted her. Her pulse quickens. She's almost there. For a split second, doubt creeps in. Could the ship even work? What if it's broken? What if the enforcers have already disabled it? She doesn't have time for hesitation. They'll catch her in moments if she doesn't act. She pushes the ramp up, barely pausing to see if anyone else is in the cockpit. She's alone. Her hands tremble as she powers up the controls. The ship's engines rumble to life, and Lyra's breath catches. She's moving. She can hear the hum of the engines growing louder, the lights on the dashboard flickering on, one by one. But then, a voice cuts through the cockpit. It's calm, almost polite, but filled with malice. "We know you're there, Lyra. You cannot escape." The voice comes from her communicator. Her blood runs cold. The Galactic Council has already found her. It's too late to turn back. The voice, though calm, has a chilling quality to it. She can almost picture the enforcers smirk as they speak. The Council doesn't just control the galaxy, they own it. And this girl, she's nothing but a pawn to them. But it's not just the Council's words that make her shiver. It's the feeling that they're toying with her. That they want her to know there's no way out. That despite her desperate attempt to flee, they can end her whenever they wish. They don't even have to rush. They know she's cornered. Lyra grits her teeth, refusing to give in to the fear bubbling up in her chest. She glances at the ship's viewport, watching as the spaceport disappears into the distance. Her fingers hover over the controls. She can still do this. She can still get away. But just as the ship begins to lift off the ground, a loud crack rings out through the spaceport. It's the sound of a gunshot. Lyra freezes. A second shot, closer this time. She turns her head, eyes wide, to see a flash of red light in the distance. Her heart skips. The next moment, everything slows. Time seems to freeze as she sees one of the enforcers, a tall alien, stepping out from the shadows, his blaster raised. The sound of a third shot is followed by a sharp sting in her side. She gasps, feeling the force of the shot push her back against the ship's control panel. The pain is immediate, blinding. She tries to hold onto the console, but her hands can't grip it anymore. The world around her starts to blur. The cockpit fills with a buzzing sound, like a distant alarm, but she can't focus on it. Her vision fades in and out. She slumps forward, the ship's control panel now blurry beneath her fingertips. A low groan slips from her lips. Her head grows heavy, and the darkness starts to swallow her up. Her body feels numb, her limbs losing their strength. Through the haze of her fading consciousness, Lyra hears the shrill sound of the ship's engines whirring, as if they're somehow carrying her farther into space, beyond the range of the Council's reach. But that's the last thought that crosses her mind before her world goes black. The next scene is pure silence, the kind of eerie quiet that comes when everything, life, sound, motion, stops at once. A soft beep fills the silence, and then another. The camera shifts to show the spaceport in chaos. Alarms are blaring as the Council's forces rush toward the ship, but it's too late. The ship has already disappeared into the dark abyss of space, vanishing beyond the planet's atmosphere. The enforcers look at each other in confusion. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. The girl was supposed to be caught, dead or alive. But somehow, she's out there now, far away from their control. And in the silence, the only question remains: who killed Lyra, and why? The audience is left with the haunting uncertainty of what happened next. Was it the Council's enforcers who shot her, or was there a deeper conspiracy at play? Did someone higher in the Council want her dead for reasons they've yet to reveal? And the biggest question of all, what happens now? With Lyra gone, will Earth's ancient fleet rise to take its revenge, or has the spark of rebellion been extinguished before it could truly begin? Back on Earth, the news of Lyra's death spreads like wildfire. It comes through the encrypted channels, reaching the highest echelons of the global military command. General Mason Turner, a man who had long buried his emotions beneath layers of duty and responsibility, feels a jolt as the message reaches his command center. The cold, factual tone of the communication makes the impact worse. Lyra's dead. For a moment, Turner doesn't respond. His fingers hover over the holographic display in front of him, the symbols of military operations flickering faintly as the room remains silent. He knows who Lyra is. She's not just any child. She's the daughter of Dr. Ethan Moreau, the scientist who had worked for years on the Project Exodus, the most secretive and dangerous project Earth had ever undertaken. And now, with her death, everything Moreau had worked for, everything he had protected, has come crashing down. As the full weight of the situation settles over him, a fire ignites deep within Turner's chest. He had hoped it would never come to this. The Galactic Council had always been a distant threat, a tyrannical force that controlled vast stretches of the galaxy. But they were never supposed to touch Earth. The Council's warships had been a shadowy presence at the edge of human knowledge. Yet now, they had crossed a line. They had killed one of their own. And for what reason? It didn't matter. The action had been taken, and it was time for Earth to respond. The general moves quickly. His hands, once steady and calm, now move with purpose as he taps a sequence of commands into the command center system. With each press of the button, the massive secure vaults hidden deep within the Earth's surface are unlocked. Project Exodus, the operation that had been dormant for centuries, is now being activated. The room's lights dim as a cold mechanical hum fills the air. Turner watches the screens come to life, revealing old maps of Earth, maps that hide secrets long buried beneath the oceans and frozen wastelands. Hidden in these remote places are the ancient ships of Earth's past, ships that were built long before humanity had ventured into space, ships that were capable of devastating power, designed to be humanity's ultimate weapon in the event that Earth was ever threatened. Project Exodus had been initiated centuries ago, in the darkest hours of human history. Earth's leaders knew that humanity's growing technology and knowledge might one day attract the attention of hostile alien civilizations, so they prepared a defense, hidden away, far from the eyes of any enemy. It had been a secret even to most of Earth's leaders. The ships, buried deep beneath ice caps and the ocean floor, had been waiting for the day when they would be needed. Now, that day had come. Turner feels a shiver run through him as the screens flash with new data. He watches as the old ships, dormant for so long, begin to power up. Massive, ancient warships buried beneath miles of ice and water stir to life, their ancient engines roaring back to life after thousands of years of silence. These ships were designed with technology that had been far ahead of its time, capable of manipulating the very fabric of space and time. Their hulls, covered in layers of reinforced material, are nearly impervious to conventional weapons. With each passing moment, the ancient fleet that was meant to defend Earth is once again ready for battle. Turner stands at attention, his fists clenched. He's always known that humanity's strength lay not in numbers or technology alone, but in their resilience, their unwillingness to give up. Earth had faced threats before, but none like this. The Council had pushed humanity too far, and now the entire galaxy would feel the consequences. The first massive ship, called the Excalibur, rises from beneath the icy waters of Antarctica, its towering form cutting through the frozen surface. The other ships, all of them enormous, follow suit. Each ship hums with the power of long-forgotten engines, and the ground shakes with the release of their ancient power. These ships were designed to be stealthy and devastating. As their cloaking devices activate, they fade into the shadows, nearly invisible to any sensors. Earth's fleet is now in stealth mode, a fleet capable of vanishing without a trace. General Turner watches as the fleet slowly assembles, hidden beneath the cloak of their advanced technology. The ships, each one a masterpiece of forgotten engineering, are ready for combat. They may be old, but their technology is still cutting edge, far more advanced than anything the Galactic Council has, with advanced weapon systems capable of disabling entire fleets with a single strike. Earth's ships are now the galaxy's most formidable force. The general's thoughts are interrupted by a flash of light on the monitor. The Council's supply line, a vital trade route for their war effort, is vulnerable. The fleet has already plotted the course for the attack. Turner's lips curl into a grim smile. He orders the fleet to deploy. The galactic battlefield is set in the vast expanse of space, far from Earth's atmosphere. In the darkness, Earth's fleet moves in like phantoms, unseen by the Council's sensors. The Council's supply line, a convoy of massive freighters carrying vital resources for their war effort, moves unaware of the deadly threat approaching. The convoy is made up of several large vessels, each one brimming with precious materials, weapons, and technology. The first sign that something is wrong comes when one of the ships in the convoy is suddenly engulfed in an explosion. It's not a normal attack. It's not even a normal explosion. It's a massive burst of energy, far beyond anything the Council has ever encountered. The ship disintegrates in an instant, scattering debris, and sparks across the void. The Council's fleet, a mix of fighter ships and larger cruisers, quickly scrambles to respond. But they are too slow. Earth's fleet is already in motion, invisible, their cloaking devices rendering them completely undetectable. Earth's ships, now fully operational, engage in orbital bombardments, targeting the enemy vessels from above. The first wave of attacks leaves the Council's defenses in ruins, their ships breaking apart as Earth's advanced weapon systems tear through their hulls. Aboard one of the Council's command ships, the commander receives the first reports of the attack. His face tightens in disbelief as he watches the tactical displays, showing their forces being shredded by an enemy they can't even see. The Earth fleet, moving in total darkness, strikes without warning, and every blow is devastating. The ships are fast, maneuverable, and more powerful than anything the Council has encountered in centuries. In the midst of the chaos, human soldiers aboard Earth's ships engage in close-quarters combat on the Council's now crippled warships. Armed with advanced energy blades and personal armor, they storm the Council ships with precision and speed. The Council soldiers, disoriented and panicked, fight back, but they are outmatched. The humans' tactics, honed over centuries of survival, are ruthless and efficient. Every inch of the enemy ship becomes a battleground. Blood is spilled, and the stench of death fills the air. The battle rages on in the cold void of space, with Earth's fleet dismantling the Council's forces one ship at a time. As the last Council cruiser falls, the battlefield goes eerily silent. Earth's ships, having completed their mission, vanish back into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but wreckage and the smoldering remains of their once proud enemies. The Galactic Council, with all its might, has been dealt a devastating blow. Earth has struck back. The war has only just begun. The victory Earth's fleet had won was short-lived. Despite the swift destruction of the Galactic Council's supply convoy, the Council's response was already underway. The Council, powerful and merciless, had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back, but now they were determined to make sure it wouldn't happen again. Their response would come with overwhelming force, and they would stop at nothing to crush the fledgling rebellion. The commander, now furious, contacted Steri, a ruthless alien warlord known across the galaxy for his brutal efficiency. Steri had been trained for war from birth. His hatred for humans was legendary, stemming from ancient grudges passed down through generations of his people. He had led countless campaigns against humanity's colonies in the past, and his name alone struck fear into the hearts of soldiers across the galaxy. Steri's voice crackled through the intercom, his eyes glowing an eerie red. "Gather my forces," he growled. "The humans have shown their hand. It's time to eliminate them once and for all." The warlord's fleet, vast and menacing, immediately began to move towards Earth's location. Thousands of ships, heavily armed and armored, entered faster than light travel, heading straight for the coordinates where Earth's fleet had made its strike. Steri had no intention of letting these primitive humans go unpunished. He knew the best way to deal with such rebellions was to crush them before they had the chance to grow. Earth's fleet, meanwhile, was still reeling from their initial success. Though their ships had proven effective, their numbers were few. The stealth technology that had made them so powerful in the first attack could only last for so long. They could not remain hidden forever. General Turner and his crew were already preparing for what would come next, the inevitable retaliation. Among the soldiers on the ground, one man stood out. Sergeant John Bonner, a battle-hardened human soldier, had been part of the initial raid on the Council's supply line. He knew that the success of that operation wasn't the end of their struggle. It was only the beginning. Bonner wasn't a soldier because of the technology at his disposal, but because of his grit, his human resilience. While alien forces relied heavily on their superior technology, humanity's strength lay in their refusal to give up, no matter the odds. Bonner was assigned to lead a team of elite soldiers in a covert mission to sabotage a Council stronghold located on one of their heavily fortified moon bases. The mission was risky. There were hundreds of enemy soldiers on the moon, and the defenses were unlike anything humanity had faced. But Bonner had led his men through worse situations, and he wasn't about to back down now. They dropped onto the moon's surface in the dead of night, the cold, barren landscape stretching endlessly before them. Their ships, cloaked in stealth mode, landed with barely a whisper, and the team quickly set to work. Bonner knew they had to be quick, quiet. Any mistake would be disastrous. As they infiltrated the enemy stronghold, Bonner's team moved like ghosts, slipping past patrols and disabling security systems with expert precision. But as they made their way deeper into the heart of the stronghold, things began to go wrong. The enemy was waiting for them. A trap had been set. The moment they reached the central hangar bay, the doors slammed shut behind them. The hum of an energy shield powered up, trapping them inside. It was a classic Council maneuver. Steri had anticipated their every move. A wave of Council soldiers poured into the bay, their advanced plasma rifles trained on Bonner's team. They were outnumbered, surrounded, and outgunned, but Bonner's soldiers were not ready to surrender. Not now. Not ever. They fought back fiercely, using everything at their disposal. Energy blades clashed with plasma rifles in a flurry of light and sound as explosions shook the walls of the hangar. The battle was brutal. The humans, though technologically inferior to the alien forces, used their raw strength, resourcefulness, and sheer determination to hold their ground. Bonner fought alongside his men, his energy blade flashing, cutting down one alien soldier after another. He was a force of nature, moving quickly and efficiently, with no regard for his own safety. His team mirrored his ferocity, working together like a well-oiled machine. But despite their best efforts, the enemy was too strong. Council soldiers had superior armor, faster reflexes, and advanced weaponry that the humans simply couldn't match. Bonner's team began to lose ground. One by one, his soldiers fell. Their deaths came swiftly and painfully, but their sacrifice was not in vain. They had taken down dozens of enemies, buying time for their mission. But now, Bonner was alone. With a final, desperate push, Bonner managed to destroy the hangar's central control system, sending a shockwave of destruction through the base. The energy shield dropped, and the hangar doors exploded outward, allowing the surviving soldiers to escape. Bonner's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing. He had lost half of his team in the battle. Their bodies would remain behind, a reminder of the price of freedom. In the chaos of the fight, Bonner couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. His soldiers had followed him into battle without hesitation, and now they were gone, their lives snuffed out in an instant. He had failed them in the end, despite every ounce of effort he put into protecting them. As he and the remaining soldiers retreated to their extraction point, Bonner made a silent vow. He would avenge their deaths. The council would pay. He would make sure of it. The loss of his comrades stoked the flames of his anger, and that anger would fuel him as he prepared for the inevitable war that was coming. The visual chaos of the hangar was something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Flashing energy blades, plasma gunfire, and the sound of combat filled the air. The once pristine surface of the enemy ship was now a twisted mess of debris and destruction. Ships had crashed in the aftermath of the battle, smoke and fire filling the atmosphere, lighting up the sky. Bonner and his soldiers fought on, even as they knew that survival was a fleeting hope. As they made their way back to their ship, Bonner took a moment to look back at the ruins of the stronghold, the broken bodies of his fallen men scattered across the battlefield. He couldn't shake the feeling that this war was going to be a long and bloody one. The Council would not back down easily, and they had no idea what humanity was capable of. But Bonner knew one thing. They were far from finished. The underdog story of humanity's survival, of their fight against a technologically superior enemy, had only just begun. And as long as there were soldiers like Bonner, fighting for the memory of those they had lost, there would always be hope. As the team boarded the ship and blasted off into space, the light of the distant stars illuminated Bonner's face. He wiped the sweat and blood from his brow, eyes burning with determination. The enemy may have struck back, but humanity had just begun to show them what it meant to fight for survival. The war was on, and the humans were not about to back down. The war between humanity and a galactic council had taken a darker turn. What began as a simple struggle for survival had quickly escalated into something much greater, with the fate of not just Earth, but perhaps the entire galaxy hanging in the balance. The Council's retaliation had come swiftly and mercilessly, but humanity, against all odds, had managed to hold its ground. Earth's ancient fleet had proven to be a powerful weapon, but there was something far more dangerous hidden beneath the surface, an ancient secret that could shift the tide of the entire war. General Turner sat in the command center of the Excalibur, the flagship of Earth's fleet. His face, usually stern and composed, was etched with worry as he stared at a series of encrypted files on his screen. The fleet's recent success had been largely due to their stealth technology, advanced weapons, and superior tactics, but Turner knew they couldn't rely on these alone. The Council had vast resources and advanced technology that could outlast any human ingenuity. He needed something more, something that could give humanity an edge, a decisive advantage in the war. It was then that he stumbled upon a long-forgotten file buried deep within the fleet's classified archives. It was a record about a mysterious artifact known as the Celestial Key. The description of the artifact was vague, filled with cryptic symbols and references to ancient human myths, but what Turner understood was clear. The Celestial Key had the power to manipulate space and time itself. The more Turner read, the more the weight of this discovery sank in. The Celestial Key had been discovered centuries ago, during the early stages of Earth's space exploration. It had been hidden away within the Excalibur, sealed in a vault beneath the ship's core. Its true potential had never been realized, until now. But what shocked Turner the most was the realization that Lyra's father, Dr. Elias Callum, had been the one to uncover the existence of the Celestial Key. Dr. Callum had been part of the original team that designed Earth's fleet, and he had spent years researching the artifact before Lyra's tragic death. A cold shiver ran down Turner's spine as he recalled the final moments of Dr. Callum's life. The brilliant scientist had been close to unlocking the full power of the Celestial Key, but in his last moments, he had left a warning, a final message for his daughter, Lyra. If anything happens to me, the key is the key to humanity's survival. It was a haunting message, one that had remained unanswered until now. Lyra had always been fascinated by her father's work, and Turner couldn't help but feel the weight of her loss even more now. Lyra had been a casualty in this war, but her father's legacy, the Celestial Key, was humanity's last hope. The realization hit Turner hard. He couldn't let this powerful weapon fall into the wrong hands, especially now that the Council was closing in on them. Earth's fleet had no choice but to use the artifact. The stakes were too high, and the Council's forces were too vast. The war was on the brink of annihilation, and the Celestial Key was their only chance to survive. But before he could begin preparations, Turner was interrupted by a sudden message from the bridge. The Council's superweapon, a massive orbital weapon capable of destroying entire fleets with a single shot, had been deployed. It was heading directly towards Earth's fleet. This was it, the final confrontation. The stakes had never been higher. The Council's superweapon, codenamed Vortex, had the power to tear through space itself, creating rifts in the fabric of reality. It was the Council's ultimate weapon, and its destructive power was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The Excalibur's crew sprang into action, scrambling to make final preparations for what would surely be their most desperate battle yet. Turner's mind raced as he made the decision. The Celestial Key had to be used. Now, the flagship's vault was opened, and the artifact was revealed for the first time. It was a small, glowing crystal, no larger than a fist, but its power was palpable. As Turner held the key, he felt an overwhelming surge of energy course through him, and the ship's systems seemed to hum in response. The artifact wasn't just a weapon. It was a force of nature, one that could reshape the very fabric of space and time. He turned to the crew. "Activate the key," he ordered. "We have one shot at this." With a deep breath, Turner watched as the ship's AI integrated the Celestial Key into the main system. It was time to unleash the full potential of humanity's most ancient weapon. As the Excalibur powered up, the crew could feel the air around them crackling with energy. The Celestial Key began to glow brighter, its energy surging through the ship's systems. Turner could feel his heartbeat in sync with the pulsating hum of the artifact, as though it were alive, guiding them. They didn't have much time. The vortex was almost within range, and the Council's fleet was closing in fast. The Excalibur had to strike first. With a blinding flash of light, the Celestial Key activated. A wave of energy rippled through space, distorting the fabric of reality itself. The vortex was caught in the wave, its systems destabilizing. As the orbital weapon faltered, it created a massive explosion that rippled across the stars, lighting up the heavens like a second sun. The Council's fleet was thrown into disarray, their ships unable to recover from the shockwave of energy. For a moment, Everything went silent. But the victory was short-lived. The Council, enraged by the destruction of their superweapon, retaliated with everything they had left. Massive ships, brimming with soldiers, descended upon Earth's fleet, ready to strike back with unimaginable force. But humanity, armed with the power of the Celestial Key, was not about to let the Council's retaliation go unanswered. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, humanity held the upper hand. The Council had made a grave mistake in underestimating the power of Earth's ancient fleet. General Turner stood at the helm of the Excalibur, his mind focused and resolute. He knew that they were far from winning the war, but the power of the Celestial Key had given them a fighting chance. For the first time in the war, humanity had something the Council could not control, a weapon capable of changing the course of the conflict itself. As the battle raged in space, Turner's thoughts turned to Lyra, her father's sacrifice, her untimely death, and the legacy of the Celestial Key had all led to this moment. Humanity was on the verge of turning the tide. Earth's fleet, armed with the ancient weapon, was ready to face whatever the Council threw at them. The war was far from over, but Earth had a new hope. And this time, they were ready to fight. The war between Earth and the Galactic Council had reached its boiling point. After years of conflict, it was clear that the final battle would determine the fate of humanity. Earth's fleet, with its ancient technology and newly discovered Celestial Key, had managed to hold its ground. But now, the Galactic Council was desperate, sending its full might to crush humanity once and for all. The ultimate confrontation was set to take place near a dying star, a place of devastation and decay, where space itself seemed to twist and warp under the star's gravity. This location, once a peaceful corner of the galaxy, had now become the battleground for the final struggle. Captain Serena Lockwood, leader of Earth's fleet, stood on the bridge of the Excalibur, her gaze fixed on the dark horizon of space. The massive armada of the Galactic Council loomed ahead, like a swarm of deadly insects prepared to strike. Behind her, the remaining ships of Earth's fleet prepared for the battle of their lives. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," Lockwood muttered to herself, her voice filled with resolve. "We're fighting for the future of all humanity, and we will not back down." The Council's fleet was overwhelming. Thousands of ships, each bristling with weapons and advanced technology, waited to crush Earth's remaining forces. At the helm of the Council flagship was Commander Steri, a ruthless and cunning alien warlord who had made it his personal mission to destroy humanity. With his hatred for humans burning like a wildfire, Steri was prepared to do anything to end this war once and for all. The final assault began with a thunderous roar. The Council ships advanced, launching wave after wave of fighter drones and missile barrages toward Earth's fleet. The space around the dying star was filled with fire and explosions as both sides clashed with relentless fury. Massive energy blasts ripped through the void, sending shockwaves across space, while ships maneuvered in and out of the chaos, trying to outflank and outgun their enemies. Serena Lockwood's voice rang out over the comms, commanding her fleet to maintain formation. "Focus fire on the enemy flagship. Take out their command center." Her orders were clear, her tone resolute. The fate of humanity rested on this battle, and failure was not an option. Bonner, the seasoned soldier who had fought through countless battles, now found himself once again on the front lines. Along with his team, he had been given the critical mission of infiltrating the Council's flagship and planting explosives that would cripple their command structure. This wasn't just another mission. It was the final push, the last chance to end the war. As Bonner and his squad slipped through the chaos of space, they cloaked their ship, using Earth's advanced technology to remain undetected by the enemy sensors. Inside the cockpit, Bonner's eyes were locked on the glowing red lights of the enemy flagship, a monstrous structure that dwarfed even the Excalibur. "We make it inside, we plant the charges, and we get out," Bonner muttered, his hand resting on the detonator. His voice was calm, but beneath it lay a tension that could not be ignored. There was no turning back now. The cloaked ships of Earth's fleet darted through the battlefield, striking from the shadows, using their advanced stealth and technology to take out Council vessels one by one. The enemy had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. As the space around them erupted in chaos, Lockwood's fleet carved a path through the destruction, targeting key Council ships and throwing their adversaries into disarray. Inside the heart of the Council flagship, Bonner's squad moved swiftly through narrow corridors, silently eliminating alien guards. The ship's halls echoed with the hum of alien machinery, but Bonner's focus was unshakable. He knew what was at stake. The explosives they were planting would cripple the enemy's ability to coordinate their forces, giving the fleet a chance to win. But nothing in war ever goes according to plan. The Council, enraged by the destruction of their superweapon, retaliated with everything they had left. Massive ships, brimming with soldiers, descended upon Earth's fleet, ready to strike back with unimaginable force. But humanity, armed with the power of the celestial key, was not about to let the Council's retaliation go unanswered. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, humanity held the upper hand. The Council had made a grave mistake in underestimating the power of Earth's ancient fleet. General Turner stood at the helm of the Excalibur, his mind focused and resolute. He knew that they were far from winning the war, but the power of the celestial key had given them a fighting chance. For the first time in the war, humanity had something the Council could not control, a weapon capable of changing the course of the conflict itself. As the battle raged in space, Turner's thoughts turned to Lyra. Her father's sacrifice, her untimely death, and the legacy of the celestial key had all led to this moment. Humanity was on the verge of turning the tide. Earth's fleet, armed with the ancient weapon, was ready to face whatever the Council threw at them. The war was far from over, but Earth had a new hope. And this time, they were ready to fight. The war between Earth and the Galactic Council had reached its boiling point. After years of conflict, it was clear that the final battle would determine the fate of humanity. Earth's fleet, with its ancient technology and newly discovered celestial key, had managed to hold its ground. But now, the Galactic Council was desperate, sending its full might to crush humanity once and for all. The ultimate confrontation was set to take place near a dying star, a place of devastation and decay, where space itself seemed to twist and warp under the star's gravity. This location, once a peaceful corner of the galaxy, had now become the battleground for the final struggle. Captain Serena Lockwood, leader of Earth's fleet, stood on the bridge of the Excalibur, her gaze fixed on the dark horizon of space. The massive armada of the Galactic Council loomed ahead, like a swarm of deadly insects prepared to strike. Behind her, the remaining ships of Earth's fleet prepared for the battle of their lives. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," Lockwood muttered to herself, her voice filled with resolve. "We're fighting for the future of all humanity, and we will not back down." The Council's fleet was overwhelming. Thousands of ships, each bristling with weapons and advanced technology, waited to crush Earth's remaining forces. At the helm of the Council flagship was Commander Steri, a ruthless and cunning alien warlord who had made it his personal mission to destroy humanity, with his hatred for humans burning like a wildfire. Steri was prepared to do anything to end this war once and for all. The final assault began with a thunderous roar. The Council ships advanced, launching wave after wave of fighter drones and missile barrages toward Earth's fleet. The space around the dying star was filled with fire and explosions as both sides clashed with relentless fury. Massive energy blasts ripped through the void, sending shockwaves across space, while ships maneuvered in and out of the chaos, trying to outflank and outgun their enemies. Serena Lockwood's voice rang out over the comms, commanding her fleet to maintain formation. "Focus fire on the enemy flagship. Take out their command center." Her orders were clear, her tone resolute. The fate of humanity rested on this battle, and failure was not an option. Bonner, the seasoned soldier who had fought through countless battles, now found himself once again on the front lines. Along with his team, he had been given the critical mission of infiltrating the Council's flagship and planting explosives that would cripple their command structure. This wasn't just another mission. It was the final push, the last chance to end the war. As Bonner and his squad slipped through the chaos of space, they cloaked their ship, using Earth's advanced technology to remain undetected by the enemy sensors. Inside the cockpit, Bonner's eyes were locked on the glowing red lights of the enemy flagship, a monstrous structure that dwarfed even the Excalibur. "We make it inside, we plant the charges, and we get out," Bonner muttered, his hand resting on the detonator. His voice was calm, but beneath it lay a tension that could not be ignored. There was no turning back now. The cloaked ships of Earth's fleet darted through the battlefield, striking from the shadows, using their advanced stealth and technology to take out Council vessels one by one. The enemy had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. As the space around them erupted in chaos, Lockwood's fleet carved a path through the destruction, targeting key Council ships and throwing their adversaries into disarray. Inside the heart of the Council flagship, Bonner's squad moved swiftly through narrow corridors, silently eliminating alien guards. The ship's halls echoed with the hum of alien machinery, but Bonner's focus was unshakable. He knew what was at stake. The explosives they were planting would cripple the enemy's ability to coordinate their forces, giving the fleet a chance to win. But nothing in war ever goes according to plan. As Bonner and his team made their way to the central command room, the alarms blared. The enemy had discovered them. Steri, the commander, had anticipated their move. It was a trap. The squad fought fiercely, their plasma guns blazing as they pushed forward. Bonner's heart raced as he watched his men fall one by one. The enemy was relentless, and their soldiers were far more advanced than the humans. But it wasn't just technology that kept Bonner going. It was his love for his comrades, for the cause they were fighting for Earth. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the corridor. The blast knocked Bonner to the ground, disorienting him. He looked up to see his close friend, Surgeon Harris, lying motionless, a look of determination frozen on his face. Harris had sacrificed himself to ensure the squad could continue. Bonner's chest tightened. There would be no turning back now. He was the only one left. With a cry of fury, Bonner pushed forward, planting the last of the explosives in the control room. He knew that once this was done, there would be no retreat. The Council flagship would be crippled, but it would cost him everything. Meanwhile, the battle outside raged on. The Excalibur had suffered heavy damage, its shields failing under the onslaught of the Council's superior firepower. But Lockwood refused to give up. With every ounce of strength, she pushed her crew harder, trying to hold off the enemy long enough for Bonner's mission to succeed. As the last charges were set, Bonner made one final desperate dash to the ship's exterior. His communications were still functional, and he could hear Lockwood's voice over the radio, crackling with static. "Bonner, do you copy? You need to get out of there. Now." Bonner's heart pounded in his chest. He knew that the explosives would trigger a chain reaction, one that would bring down the entire flagship. But he was too close. There was no turning back. "I'm sorry, Captain," Bonner whispered to himself, knowing that this would be the end. The explosive detonated, and the massive Council flagship erupted in a series of violent blasts, tearing apart the heart of the enemy's fleet. But even as the flagship crumbled, the Council's forces didn't relent. They were determined to win, to crush humanity once and for all. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Serena Lockwood watched as her ship took another direct hit. The Excalibur's shields were down, and the crew was on the brink of collapse. It was clear that this would be her final stand. She made a decision in that moment. If they were to win, it would be by her own hand. With one last push, Lockwood led her crew into a final offensive. The enemy flagship was already falling, but Lockwood's fleet needed to create enough of a distraction for Bonner's explosion to give them the victory. And just as the Council's last stand seemed to falter, Lockwood's ship was struck in a devastating blow. Bonner's sacrifice had given humanity the victory they desperately needed. The Council's fleet was in disarray, and their leadership had been shattered. The battle had cost humanity dearly, but the price of survival had been paid. As the dying star flickered in the distance, humanity had won, not just for Earth, but for all who dreamed of freedom. The final showdown had ended, but the legacy of those who had fallen, from Bonner to Lockwood, would live on. For the first time in the war, the Council had been defeated, and Earth had risen victorious. The final echoes of the battle rang through space, and the once mighty Galactic Council had been shattered. Earth's fleet, battered but unbroken, emerged victorious. The mission had been accomplished, but the cost was heavy. The remains of the once dominant Council's fleet floated in the vacuum of space, its leadership destroyed, and its vast power reduced to ashes. It was an undeniable triumph for humanity, but the victory was bittersweet. The first thing humanity had to do was confront the man who had been the face of the Council's oppression, Commander Sci-Fi. His capture was a symbolic moment in the war. Sci-Fi, the cold and ruthless alien warlord, had been responsible for countless atrocities against Earth's people, but in the end, he had been caught, vulnerable and weak. His arrogance had led to his downfall. As he stood before Earth's generals, the same haughty look in his eyes, he knew the end was near. "What do you think will come of all this?" Sci-Fi sneered, though his defiance was fading. He had lost, and he knew it. General Mason Turner, the leader of Earth's forces, walked up to him with an icy stare. "We demand respect now. Sci-Fi, you and your council have tried to suppress humanity for centuries, but now it's our time." Sci-Fi's eyes flashed with contempt, but there was something else, a spark of fear. It was in that moment that he revealed the truth that had been hidden from the galaxy for so long. "The Council feared you," he spat. "They never intended for humans to rise. You were meant to be contained, a primitive species to be kept in check, so we could rule the galaxy. Your potential was too great, too unpredictable. You were never meant to rise." The truth was staggering. The Galactic Council, the all-powerful organization that had ruled the galaxy for eons, had feared humanity. They had kept Earth hidden in a corner of the galaxy, denying its people the chance to grow, to evolve, and to reach their true potential. The Council's fear of humanity's power and ambition had led them to commit horrific acts of oppression. Earth had been kept in the dark, controlled and suppressed, just to maintain the balance of power that favored the Council. This revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's leaders. The celestial key, the mysterious artifact that had given humanity the power to fight back, was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of the Council's own fear. It was proof that humanity had always had the potential to be something more, something greater. The Council had tried to crush that potential, but they had failed. Earth had proven them wrong. With Sci-Fi's capture and the truth revealed, Earth's leaders knew that the future could no longer be dictated by the Council. Humanity would stand on its own, and the galaxy would have to reckon with its power. As Earth's fleet returned home, the world was forever changed. The ancient fleet that had once been hidden beneath Earth's oceans and ice caps was now a symbol of humanity's strength. It had been used to fight for survival, but now it would be retired, preserved as a reminder of what humanity had achieved. The celestial key would no longer be used as a weapon, but would be placed in the care of Earth's top scientists to study and understand its true power. It would be guarded to ensure it was never misused again, a safeguard for future generations. The fleets, once a secret and hidden power, would now be a beacon for other civilizations. Earth, once an oppressed and isolated planet, had proven that it could stand on equal footing with the galaxy's most advanced species. No longer would Earth's people be held back. They would reach out, offering help and support to those in need, becoming a symbol of hope for the oppressed and the downtrodden throughout the galaxy. But even in the midst of humanity's triumph, the emotional toll of the war was evident. Serena Lockwood, the brave captain who had led Earth's fleet to victory, stood at a memorial on Earth's surface. The memorial, built to honor the fallen soldiers who had fought so valiantly, was a somber reminder of the cost of victory. Bonner, her close friend and a hero in his own right, was among those who had paid the ultimate price. Lockwood stood silently, her eyes focused on the names etched into the memorial surface. The pain of losing so many, including her dear friend, weighed heavily on her heart. Bonner's sacrifice had been crucial to Earth's success, and his loss was one that could never be replaced. She had seen him fight, not just for his country, but for the future of all humanity. And now he was gone. Looking up at the stars, Lockwood felt a deep sense of grief and gratitude. Humanity had won, but the price had been high. They had lost soldiers, loved ones, and friends along the way. Yet there was a sense of peace in knowing that their sacrifices had not been in vain. Earth had defeated the Galactic Council, the oppressive regime that had ruled for so long, and now humanity had the chance to build a future that was truly their own. The future was uncertain, but the path ahead was clear. Lockwood knew that Earth could no longer afford to sit idly by, waiting for threats to arrive from across the galaxy. The victory was not just a battle won, it was the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where humanity would stand strong, united, and ready to protect what they had fought so hard to earn. They had proven themselves capable of greatness, of unity, and of resilience. Lockwood turned away from the memorial, her mind focused on the future. Earth's victory was only the beginning. Now they would turn their attention to those who still suffered under the oppressive rule of the Galactic Council, offering their assistance and standing as a protector for those in need. They had shown the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with, and they would ensure that no one would ever have to face the cruelty and tyranny that they had endured. As she looked toward the stars once more, she knew that humanity's story was far from over. The battle against the Council was won, but there were still challenges ahead. There would always be those who sought to impose their will on others. But humanity had proven that they could rise above. They had overcome the impossible, and they would continue to fight for their freedom, for their future, and for the freedom of others. The final words echoed in Serena's mind, the words that would shape humanity's legacy for generations to come. The good has triumphed over evil. The Council's reign is over, and humanity will stand forever free. As the war ended and the galaxy looked on, one truth remained undeniable. Humanity had proven that the power of unity, courage, and heart could overcome any force, no matter how mighty. Good had triumphed over evil, and the future belonged to Earth.